morning, everybody. Thanks for the introduction, Ian. Yes, I've been with the Co-operative for 20 years, and it's a fabulous organisation I'm very proud to work for. But last October I did get a long service award from our HR department, which came in a very nice package. It had a very nice frame and certificate. The only problem was that all the glass was broken. So I don't know what that's saying for my change of jobs into estates. I've titled the presentation Building a Better Society. That's the vision for the cooperative, and hopefully that will become clear as I take you through the presentation, but I also believe that there's opportunity for all of us to do that. I've structured the presentation in three ways. I want to talk to you about the cooperative group itself, its scope, its breadth of businesses, but equally about why it's very different to any other organisation, and talk a little bit about our social agenda. I'd then like to move into sustainable development, where we seek to put our values into action, talk about the cooperative development model, and where we believe, in terms of sustainability, that everything is connected, and I'll spend a bit of time on that. And really, just as important as far as I'm concerned, is that there has to be a commercial focus that goes into sustainable building. And I'd like to end really on a case study with a real-life example, which may spark some of the questions. We've got a questions session at the end in terms of a real-life example of we're changing in buildings, but also regenerating a whole part of Manchester. So really just turning to the cooperative group itself and picking up Ian's point. Many people have different understanding of the cooperative, whether they think of it in terms of maybe a bank or a food store. It is one of the UK's largest businesses. Gets perhaps little press in the city because we're not on the stock market. If we were on the stock market, we'd easily be within the FTSE top 50. We have a turnover of about £14 billion, an operating profit. Well, the last 2 weeks we declared that, and it was over £600 million. We have 5,300 trading outlets, more retailing outlets than any other retailer in the UK by quite some margin. And 120,000 employees serving 20 million customers per week. And we are successful, and we are different in how we reward our owners. We have record dividends paid to our members and also to the communities in which we trade. And we've, in the last 3 years, invested £2.5 billion worth of capital investment. And that investment has gone into the estate, and quite a transformation has taken place in recent years in terms of our brand. This is a whole myriad of our food stores, not that long ago, with quite a mixed message on the high street. That's changed to this, which is a cleaner look, and we're achieving that both inside and out. And that really is paying off in terms of what we're seeing with our customers and our members. And it's across the family of businesses. We are a family, not just food, not just banking, but many different businesses. In fact, in terms of food, we're not competing head-to-head in superstores. We're at the convenience and the top-up shopping arena. We are the leader. We have the market share, largest market share in that market. But equally, we have 800 pharmacies. We have 850 funeral homes. We're the largest funeral operator in Europe. We have the largest independent travel business outside of a tour operator connection. And we're even online with an electrical business that is probably one of the world's best kept secrets, but still turns over £100 million. And we're in financial services, whether that's through the banking that you may know or insurance business. We recently acquired the Britannia Building Society, and we were one of the first clearing banks to go online with our bank Smile. But I'm here from Cooperative Estates. I'm Managing Director of our Property Services Investment and Development business. And I suppose really the diversity that I've just described to you gives us a good understanding of communities and what makes places work. Last year we established a new vision statement to build a better society, excelling in everything that we do. A deliberate double meaning in terms of, yes, a better cooperative society that will grow, but equally what we do in terms of our social goals, and excelling in everything we do is there deliberately, not just in selling beans or giving out loans, but equally how we deliver our purpose and our social goals too. Because we are different, what makes us different is our ownership model. Our owners are our members and get involved in the running of the business as well as being rewarded for shopping with the business. And secondly, our values and our principles. Commercial success is important to us, it has to be, because without that we can't deliver our we can't deliver our social goals, but they are the reason that we exist. This model is depicted from our sustainability report. It shows that delivering value is important from how we interact with our employees, our suppliers, our members, but equally from the perspective of our social responsibility and ecological sustainability. And we have a balanced scorecard which really, from our perspective, is very important for the elements within that are looking to gain competitive advantage, to drive commercial success, to deliver on our social goals. But actually how we gain competitive advantage is through how we run our business. Our social goals are key to the competitive advantage to drive commercial success, and in that way seek to have a virtuous circle. Our social goals agenda is delivered through something we call the Co-operative Ethical Plan. This was updated in 2011 and recently launched under the coverage of Join the Revolution headline. And the elements within that cover a number of different key themes for us, from democratic control and rewarding, which is important to us with our members, but equally supporting other cooperatives, not just consumer cooperatives, keeping communities thriving and working with young people and inspiring them to do better, from protecting the environment and tackling global poverty, retailing responsibly, and ethical finance. And I'll just touch on a few of these to give you an idea of what's involved. If I talk about responsible retailing and who comes up with a cooperative food ethical plan. Well, in 2008, we conducted the world's largest poll of consumer views on ethics. 100,000 members responded, setting direction for our business. And that led us to set out targets in terms of the environment impact, on animal welfare, on community retailing, food quality, diet, etc. And in cooperative financial services, that outperformed 110 financial institutions across 44 countries to win the prestigious Financial Times Sustainable Bank of the Year award. And just to give substance behind each of these areas that we're targeting, protecting the environment, I won't run through all of these, but just to give you an idea, and I think the slides will be available to everybody later on so you can dig in. But each part of the ethical plan has this level of detailing, from, in this case, to name a few, reducing greenhouse gas emissions from our operations by 35% by 2017, generating the equivalent of 25% of electricity needs from renewable sources by 2017, rendering our operations carbon neutral by 2012. And one very close to my heart that I'll be talking to you about very shortly is constructing a head office by 2012, setting new standards in sustainable design, construction and operation in the UK. And really, how do we put some of our values into action? A few examples: our founders, the Rochdale pioneers who know the cooperative story, believed that education was vital to lift people out of poverty and better themselves. And we're working with the Cooperative College to create a network of cooperative trust schools, and we already have 130 of these established. And we're building business and enterprise colleges, and in Manchester we have now 2 cooperative academies. And we work with young children in terms of getting their understanding better about the food chain. We're also the UK's largest farmer, and we take children from schools to the farm so they understand that food chain from the farm to the fork. We're seeking to highlight and address the current decline that's taking place with at-risk pollinators. And in terms of tackling global poverty, we were the founder in terms of fair trade, and we sell more fair trade products in our stores than any other retailer, trying to give something back to those that are striving to make a living elsewhere in this world. But ethical development is certainly not new. This is a picture from New Lanark, where the mill owner, with a workforce that was effectively dying on him, moved that workforce, that mill, out from the city into a better place, really thinking about sustainability in terms of the health of his workers. And our approach follows that tradition. The sustainable approach recognises that individual elements do not sit in isolation. A real community uses and interacts with the services, the transport, the environment and employment in an integrated way. And sustainable development needs to recognise this and approach delivery in a way that encourages these linkages. And this helps to embed a more sustainable solution and also allows for value-added opportunities, often lost if you work in silos. And we seek to find those value-added opportunities. There is no point in pioneering, in our view, if no one follows. It's fairly easy to deliver a highly sustainable development if you ignore the need for profits. Solutions need to be viable, scalable, and replicable in a commercial sense as well. Four years ago, we considered 3 different projects to test the potential solution for sustainable development, all focused on a basic set of priorities, balancing the need of economic, social, and environmental priorities. 3 key pillars. That economic has to be, in our view, commercial. They're trying to find a consistent approach that crossed location and time and were replicable, but still allowed responsibles that were unique to place. And our studies focused on 3 locations that were owned by the group: a rural site in the southwest, an edge of urban site in the Midlands, which was one of our applications in terms of eco-towns, and one that I'm really going to concentrate on today, which was the regeneration of a site in Manchester. And the latter really is becoming a reality. So my case study is the new cooperative headquarters, the start point really for the catalyst for the wider development. We operate our head office in 7 buildings currently in the centre of Manchester, just across from Victoria train station, and recognising the maintenance requirements, the continual operational costs that would go with the buildings that we have, but also whether or not they were continuing to be fit for purpose for a modern organisation. And we took the view that a new building was required, but a new, different way of working was also required. We're operating out of over 700,000 square feet. The new building will be 320,000 square feet. It's 14 stories. And one of the key decisions in terms of different ways of working were about what it is that we can maintain actually a smaller building than we would have required if we'd have taken the 700,000 square feet across there. And the things and the changes that we've had to make, we've had to talk to our managers and say, there are no offices in the new building. Currently we have 650 manager offices. If we'd have transported 650 manager offices to the new building, we would have added 2 new floors to the building at a cost of about £35 million. We've said to people, you can't take all the paper that you have now we want to reduce paper by 80%. If we take all the filing cabinets that you have now across to the new building, we need 2 more floors. That's another £35 million. And we've said to everybody, you can't be wedded to your desk. If we take all the desks that we have now, you've got it, we need another 2 floors. We're building a 20-storey building rather than 14. So it is encouraging cultural change, major workplace transformation, but equally breaking down silos, getting the businesses and the functions together, the introduction of flexible working, and really having a target of an environmental commitment which is at BREEAM outstanding level. And really targeting BREEAM outstanding, we started with the basic sustainable building principles that you would expect in terms of optimising the building form and looking at the north-south orientation, daylight, solar gain, etc. We looked in terms of the central ventilation, using earth tubes, cooling via chilled beams, and efficient lighting controls, reducing solar gain, water efficiency. And we were looking at BREEAM Excellent. And probably, more importantly, in terms of the display energy certificate, a Deck D rating, not Deck A, which was still insufficient for our needs. But it was really recognising, well, was there a commercial proposition that could take us to BREEAM Outstanding? So we moved on in terms of our thinking, in terms of heat recovery. We had a major review of our IT systems and chose not to take the traditional desktops and the laptops, and introduced cloud computing and thin clients. We introduced a CHP into the building that was running on biofuel, with a fabulous link to our farms, with the rapeseed oil that is grown on our farms. We have to set the land aside that will be used to fuel this CHP. Think about waste heat and excess power going to the grid. And at the moment, we're not finished yet, we have a BREEAM Outstanding building which has a higher points rating than any other building in the UK. We've engaged with our colleagues in terms of green travel and tried to break down some of those barriers that exist with, no, I must use the car. And in a fairly short space of time, we've already moved from 50% of respondents travelling by to work by car to 40%. But it's more than just a new building. 4,300 jobs directly linked to the project, dozens of apprenticeships that are being created. 1 in 12 of the workforce on the site is through an apprentice. New skills and training for the construction workers who are clearly motivated at building what is a truly innovative building. Cutting edge technology being pioneered and a learning opportunity for students of all ages. But that's just plot 1 of 20. In the cooperative, community is important. And moving to a new head office and coming out of buildings and land that we occupy, it is important for us to look behind and to be proud of what we leave behind. And therefore, we are seeking to regenerate over 20 acres in the city centre, a very unusual position to own such a vast amount of land in the middle of a city. And we've launched an £800 million regeneration scheme called NOMA. We are creating value for the group. We're also creating value for the community. This will be home and work for 40,000 people. It will be a town in the middle of Manchester in its own right. There'll be a fair chunk of public realm, almost 25% of the space will be turned over to squares, to piazzas, to change a whole emphasis in this area of Manchester. And applying some of that learning from the head office through green travel, apprenticeships, etc., into the whole NOMA scheme. This is a busy slide, just to give you an idea of the plots that are involved in the location. The sort of greenish block at the bottom is the retail area of Manchester, Victoria Station. There's a £25 million investment about to go into Victoria Station. which will change the number of passengers entering Manchester via that station from 4 million to 8 million on the doorstep of this site. And we'll be improving the vistas in the public realm, and equally, just going back, this work, at the top there, we have Angel Meadows. It's the only open green public park space in Manchester that nobody knows about, and gives us an opportunity to build residential areas around that. We will be building 1.5 million of prime new build office space, 1 million of prime refurbished office space. That's what's so great about this, is actually refurbishing the existing legacy buildings too. 1 million square feet of residential, 300,000 of retail and 200,000 of hotel accommodation. It's happening now. We have 8 major projects underway. We have the hotel signed up. We have car parking operators at contractual level. We have a road design and redesign going through planning at the moment with great support from the City Council. So for us, sustainability is very important. We're committed to commercial sustainability. We are keen to protect site heritage. In that case, you've got Arkwright's Mill on there. We're targeting a carbon neutral scheme, self-sufficient energy generation. We have a biomass energy plant half a mile from this site with a JV under contract at the moment for a 17 megawatt power station using wood, waste wood that would otherwise go to landfill, and potentially creating and integrating the business and residential communities with many thousands of jobs. I'm going to leave you now with a video, one that was used to launch Noma very recently at a property event at MIPIM in Cannes, and then I'll be happy to take some questions after that. Thank you very much.
Good. Do we have any questions from Martyn? There's a lady at the back, and I'll take two at a time. So is there another one? And who's doing the front right? All right, so you were the next. So I'll have just this question, and then immediately followed by Nick. Okay?
Hello, I'm Sophia from Aston University. Thank you, Martyn. It was very interesting to hear your talk, and I'm very pleased to see what the Co-op is doing. And looking forward to see more things happening in the future. In particular, specifically to the supermarket side of the business, I was wondering if you back the idea of the Close the Door campaign. I don't know if you're familiar with this concept. Apparently 1.6 billion is wasted every year from UK retailers and poor energy practices in very simple ways, such as closing supermarket doors and fridges doors. I was wondering if the Co-op is likely to back that campaign, because I think it's very important. Thank you.
Okay, just before you come in, let's have Nick.
Yeah, it's just a more general point around the flavour of the sort of reputational risk management that you're undertaking, given some of the mud thrown at competitors in the field. So reputational risk management.
Okay, Martyn.
Okay, I'm not specifically aware of the campaign, Sophia, but certainly it is important to us, and we have an initiative underway at the moment on fridge and freezers, freezer doors and fridge refrigeration, which I thought would be quite a battle with our food operators in terms of the look and consumer appreciation of not being able to quite get at the food so easily. But our initial trials on that are quite successful, and we're rolling out the trial slightly further. I think I'll just take away your thought process around what we're exactly doing at the front door. Quite clearly we want to keep energy in, but I'm not aware of a particular campaign on that. Reputational risk management, very important to us. We've got quite a significant governance structure around risk management, and reputation is always very much up there. We set ourselves on a pedestal quite deliberately in terms of our stance on many areas, and we give it a lot of attention, and we continue looking at our sound sourcing policies, etc., to ensure that we walk the talk.
Any other questions? Okay, so if you go to this gentleman here, Mr. Wiles, and start with yourself. Damon, start with yourself. Yeah.
Hi, Martyn. I realise you weren't here. I realise you weren't here for yesterday's presentation by Sarah Parkin, and she mentioned there was a major issue with regards to the land availability. So why you've gone down the route of using virgin crops for the CHP plant at your new site?
Okay, and then Martyn?
Yeah, as a higher education conference, it'd be interested to know what the cooperative sees as our role, what we can do, and in relation to the co-op itself.
Okay, thank you. So we start off with the biofuel
Yeah, it is on land that we own, and the way that sort of the farming operates, we have to sort of set aside land and rotate the crops. So when it's actually not growing fruit and vegetables, then we're actually using that to grow rape, which we then can use the fuel for the CHP.
So, sorry, are you saying it's an additional crop? It's not an either-or for you?
Well, we wouldn't be able, in terms of resting the land in between the times when the rotation occurs, that's how we rest it, to actually grow the rapeseed.
Right, okay.
In terms of how universities could assist with the cooperative, well, for me it is about, we're continually looking for the talent to come into our organisation, and for people who would share our values and vision. And I would anticipate there'd be quite a number in the audience that would be very much in that camp. So I believe, from that perspective, the sort of educational process is very important to us. But equally, we do work with a number of universities, in particularly with our Nova site and the Manchester University, with getting their input and their research that can help us.
So you mentioned a couple of academies. Those are school academies?
Yeah, cooperative academies.
So how are they different from a standard? What is there some sort of value base in there?
There is,
what's
yes.
different?
I mean, certainly it's about getting the right kind of community ownership into the academy, but equally in terms of setting the curriculum as well, and getting some of the input from our social goals team into that, which I think is very valuable to us and hopefully to the people studying at the school.
Okay, I've got a question for you. In this new building that you talk about, you are going to have quite a few, you call them business silos, people who've had their own domain, their own fiefdoms, their own areas of control, and you're moving into a much more dynamic, flexible space. How are you going to do that?
Well, it's not easy, but I think it is something that will be very valuable to our organisation, to actually have the right kind of bridges that are perhaps missing at the moment built in. We're actually looking at putting the departments' adjacencies with quite a lot of thought around them to encourage the right kind of working together, but equally the flexible working in itself encourages that. As I say, there's not a desk in place for everybody. We've actually talked to all of the businesses and the functions as to understand that fixed and flexible element. At the moment, it's working out at something in the order of 50-50. We believe it will go further that from a flexibility perspective. Then it may creating spaces in and around the building itself. This is a very big building with 3 big cores, and we're actually creating a different look and feel in each of those cores, whether that's from one that you would want to be a bit more creative in, or a bit more thoughtful in, with more of a thinking area and a collaboration type area, and actually creating those themes. So you will get far more mixing from the sort of the public spaces that exist in the building as well as the working spaces.
Is that something which is starting in our sector, this more flexible approach and creating spaces within our buildings for different activities? Is that starting to happen? You hear about Google and the like doing their great big slides from floors. People nodding? Any good examples of that coming about? No one prepared it?
I think a lot of our libraries are doing this very well for students. So actually looking at where students have been working in the past, and they've been maybe sitting with people in silence, and actually that's not the way that an awful lot of students work. So they've been really dynamic in thinking about actually working the room, some people want to use their phone, some people want to have their lunch whilst they're working, and yet some people do want that silence, so they have to rethink the way that they're structured, and that's quite a good example within the institution that's working quite well.
Thank you, Polly. I think that's absolutely right. And I think as fees kick in and expectations kick in and student choice kicks in, we're going to have to be a little bit more sensitive to that. Does that resonate? I mean, you were talking about students here and staff, obviously. You're talking about staff.
Yeah, no, it resonates completely, really. But, and I think the opportunity to get together in those kind of public spaces. We've got sort of business lounge as well that just be open to all of the business areas that will come together. So rather than be moving continue into meeting rooms, that will be more. So many meetings are 2, 3, 4 people. It doesn't need a room, so actually just sitting around in a more casual way encourages that kind of quick get-together to discuss a point.
Good. Any final questions? We've got, sorry, I'm being very bad. There's a lady there and somebody here, was it? Then yourself.
Hi, you mentioned obviously about the environmental standards of your new office building. You didn't actually cover that much about your sort of new NOMA site, so I was interested what minimum standards you're setting there and the challenges. Obviously, as an owner-occupier, it's slightly easier to be able to set the business case for that and what you're able to set as the standard for this new master plan. And also, as universities, we actually had a discussion yesterday as well about actually how do you make this happen, because it's very easy with consultants, etc., who are working for you. How do you actually ensure that these minimum environmental standards actually play out in the end? I think we'd all be interested.
Yeah, just following on from what Martyn was saying earlier, the conference here spends a lot of time thinking about how we can get our senior managers to embed sustainability in their thinking. Cooperatives clearly quite good at that. We hear a lot also about corporate universities, and I just wondered if there was any thought of adding another strand to the business and you guys going down the route of offering your own degree programs and actually maybe leading the way. Next year you're here as an institution.
Well, Martyn, over to you.
Okay. Yes, in terms of BREEAM outstanding with regard to NOMA, that is more of a challenge in applying that across the whole of the development. What we are doing is maintaining ownership. One option that we had was, well, okay, we're in position, let's sell the rest to a developer, but that doesn't work for us because we do have minimum standards that we believe the whole site has to adhere to. One of the reasons that I was launching NOMA recently was to find the right development partner or partners that would have and share our vision, our values, and the kind of minimum principles that we'd be applying across that. And we're working through that process with potential developers to ensure that we do go into this together with a view to, yes, we're commercial, and I think it's very important. I don't apologise for saying we have to do this commercially, but you can still do that in a sustainable way equally. We do have a cooperative college. It's not part of the cooperative group. I think I mentioned it, and we're working with them in terms of the schools programme. I do believe they have their own diplomas and the like. So I think I'll leave that side of the business to them.
I think another part of the cooperative society might well be saying absolutely. I do think we need to prepare ourselves for the private sector entering this field very soon. It's already there, obviously, but I think you could be very well placed. Okay, there's a question up here and then here.
Martyn, your new build is going to be bringing together a vast number of people. And have you thought about how to tackle the transport issues that might arise? Or because we have transport issues that we deal with in our institutions, and perhaps some of your examples could be an idea for us to take away.
Interestingly, mine is also a transport question. One of your slides said that 60% of your car drivers absolutely flatly refuse to consider anything else. I think that's quite high considering you're a city centre institution, so well placed for public transport, and it's fairly flat as well. And I just wondered what your strategy was going to be following that research, kind of that flat refusal to move forward.
Okay, well, I suppose in many ways they are linked. Specifically with regard to the new head office, and it's about 3,500 people that are going to be in the new building. One of the things that we did as part of thinking about the transport implications is many of the management population had contractual entitlement to car parking, and we chose to buy that out. To make a statement almost 18 months ago is that we do not provide car parking as an employer, and to encourage then green travel. And we've got a green travel programme, working with the various transport authorities as to how they could put on the transport at the right times for our people. Equally to encourage things like car sharing schemes, the 60%. I thought it was 50% on the slide actually. We've already made a 10% improvement in terms of the car usage. The fact that we do know there is investment in the transport infrastructure to come as well will make that far more easy. In terms of the whole site, which may have been part of your question, because with the new builds as well, we've taken a view at the moment. There's 1,350 car parking spaces on the whole of that site, mainly on the flat. We're clearly building on car parking spaces and taking that away. When we've finished, there will be 1,350 car parking spaces. So we'll be using car parking in a slightly different way with the use of multi-storey, etc. But that will be with a more popular, so the encouragement and the use and working with the transport authorities through that scheme, and it's a good relationship we have, is even more important going forward.
We're out of time, so please join me in thanking our speakers.